Thank you, Ben. I will need time reminders. I know I have too much. What I thought I would do is I sat back and I just thought about a long career as a sensory and consumer scientist and what are the things that I've learned about doing consumer testing. And so I'm just going to give you what I think are some key elements that are important in terms of predicting whether a new product or a novel product is going to be successful in the market or not. What do you need to do to make that determination? So increasing predictability of market success for new products. 50 to 75% of new consumer products do not succeed in the market. It's huge. We don't do the prediction very well at all. We're terrible at it. It's about a 50-50 chance. And so companies are spending lots of resources and a lot of money on failed products. Now, I'm going to tell you my key messages before I present the data so that you can keep them in mind. I'm going to go to the conclusions first. So we are too focused on self-reported liking. When consumers are given the opportunity to experience products before launch, it's fairly limited in terms of their exposure to the products. Direct comparisons among products increases your test power, and often our tests are not the direct comparisons. Consumers are just given one product and asked to evaluate that, and they have no context. And then the food and beverage experience, as we have said throughout the day, is a very dynamic process. So the first bite of a potato chip is very different from when you've consumed the whole chip and now you have the bolus in your mouth and you're ready to swallow. So at what point in that dynamic process has the food been evaluated? And it's usually a very static evaluation. So they're the key points that I hope to convince you of. If we turn to psychology and look at how people make choices, it's called the ABCs of choice because we have an affective component, which is the emotional component. Think about a relationship you may have with a potential mate. You may know intellectually that this person is not good for you, but try telling your heart that. So you can see what that conflict is. So that's the affective component of our decision making. We have a behavioral component. When an object is presented to us, do we lean in and want to be close to it, or do we move back away? In the food and beverage experience, how much do you consume? That's a behavioral aspect, and we frequently don't even look at that in our consumer testing. We overlook it. But what we do a lot of in our consumer testing is the cognitive part of our decision making. And we ask people to self-report their liking. How much do you like this product? Would you buy this product if it was sold at a reasonable price? And we heavily emphasize that. But these are three components that go into the choices that we make. And the correlation among these three components is low, which means that they're measuring different aspects of your decision making. But our consumer testing, by and large, has been focused only on the cognitive self-report. There's considerable evidence that rational decisions are not really how we make our choices. If you think about buying a car, the foods that you're choosing, it's not always a rational decision. It's more likely an emotional decision. And there's a lot of unconscious processes that are going on that are driving those decisions. Another piece I'd like to talk about a little bit is the neuroscientist Kent Berridge. He stipulates that there are three components to reward, and they are dissociable, meaning that they are separate. There's the liking component, which is I have tasted this product, it gave me sensory pleasure, it's palatable, it's a conscious representation, and it's after tasting. But he's also identified a separate neural system for wanting. And wanting is the motivation to go after the product. It's incentive. It's often not conscious, and it's before tasting, not after tasting. And then, of course, there's the learning component, which is you've learned to make associations among your experience and your cognition. So we wanted to know whether wanting may also be a factor in our decision making and not just post-consumption liking. So this is the scenario that we set up. We had a vending machine game, and it kept the consumers actively engaged. We told them that one vending machine was going to dispense the product at a higher ratio, and the other vending machine would dispense it at a lower ratio, and that their job was to determine which vending machine dispensed the product that they liked more. So we were fortunate enough that we had two products that passed the internal stages of development and both went into the market. One of the products failed within 3 months. The other product is actually still in the market. So we had the market winner and the market loser in this scenario. So we knew what the outcome was. Here was the paradigm. They made their selection. We were taping their facial expressions in the anticipation phase. The vending machine then told them which product they had to sip. So they were either satisfied or disappointed based on their facial expression. We consider those two measures to be the wanting. They have not yet tasted the product. Then they take a sip. We're looking at their facial expression, and then there's the liking part, the post-consumption. Then we ask them the self-reported liking question. Please evaluate the product. And we did this over and over again for 30 sips. We also measured the behavior in terms of the quantity that was consumed. So liking is changing with repeated sipping. The market winner, you can see in the first rating, it was just kind of a 7 on a 9-point scale. Likewise, the market loser was. But as they continued to experience the market winner, they liked it more. This is one subject, but it's representative of all of the subjects. And then the market loser actually got worse over time. In a typical central location test with consumers, that is the area of amount of exposure, and you don't have much test power at all. And you can see if you give them longer exposure time, you get much more test power in differentiating products. Their facial expression was revealed ahead of their cognitive assessment. So you can see it only took about 5 or 6 sips before their facial balance went down. And the differentiation between the products is different at the 5 or 6 sips, whereas in the self-reported liking, it was out towards more 18 sips. So emotional facial expressions happen ahead of the cognitive assessment. This is a video of what it looked like for 2 subjects. I was happy with the outcome and the sip. He's waiting for the, now he's not happy. And you will see he really doesn't like this product. He does the head shake. This woman actually talked to the computer. She kept saying, I want 732, I want 732, give me 732, come on, come on. Get 732. She stares back at it, she really doesn't like it.
Can you give me 135?
I'll press it for you. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the correlation between the self-reported liking and the facial expressions was a positive 0.44, meaning they're moving in the same direction, but they are measuring something that is different. There were more positive than negative responses in the self-report, which indicates a positive response bias, and only 2 neutral responses. So you can see with the self-report, that's not very reliable because there's that positive response bias. So you get a good result in your central location test and you launch the product and it's really not that good. But the facial expressions showed less positive responses, more negative, and a lot of neutral. Adding facial expressions to the wanting of the self-reported liking, so those facial expressions that happened before the tasting to the self-reported liking dramatically increased the market success predictability. So if we look at these subjects, which was everyone in the self-report, we had about a 51% chance of predicting the market success. And that's why both products went to market, one failed and one stayed in the market. If we look at the self-report of the people who were emotionally expressive, because not everyone is, particularly Asian cultures have been taught not to use a lot of facial expressions. It's a little bit more difficult. So we looked at these folks to see if their self-report was more accurate. Accuracy is just using signal detection theory and looking at you say you like it and you actually like it. You say you don't like it, you actually don't like it, and dividing that by all possible outcomes is how we predicted accuracy. But you can see here, this is facial expressions in the wanting phase, the pre-part, before tasting, combined with the self-report, and we were able to increase the predictability of market success to 67%, which is a huge increase from the self-report. And I'm going to stop there. We did a second experiment, but we're out of time, where we added EEG measures. We have a dry EEG headset, and that further increased our predictability of market success. And I'd be happy to talk with you about that. So the key messages: too much focus on self-reported liking. Make sure that you include other components of decision-making, affect, and behavior. And I think that we can do a lot in terms of predicting whether future foods will be accepted or not. Happy to take questions.
I think we have time for a question for Linda, if there's anyone that's got a burning question.
Yeah, it means wanting is more like needing. What's the driving force behind this?
So I'm using the language that Ken Berridge uses, and he calls it liking versus wanting. Needing, I think, is a little bit more different than wanting. I think wanting is, I desire this. I want to consume this. Needing is, I need this. I can't think of another synonym for that. And liking is just, this is palatable. This gives me pleasure.
Yeah, liking is sort of, in our opinion, frequent, involved, emotions involved in liking. But why someone wants this one? Is it because he needs, or because he wants something? I don't know. Because another thing is you say pre-shipping and post-shipping. Does that mean this consumer has no prior knowledge about this product?
So,
Or he had previously consumed this one?
so in the paradigm, they get 30 sips. So in the first session, the first trial, the wanting facial expression has not really been established. But now they've tasted it and they say, okay, this was product 732. That was pretty good. And then they taste the other one. And so as the trials go on, they're more and more familiar. And their goal was to figure out which vending machine was giving them the product they liked more, which kept them engaged. And so the wanting, the facial expression, as you saw from the evidence of the participants, that kicked in later seconds.
Perfect. Thanks.